Morning everyone. We can go fishing. I'm sure you already know that. I'm so excited. Yeah, tomorrow apparently. Depending on lakes, obviously. There's got to be a lot of logistics put into place. We can't all just go woof. I won't be fishing tomorrow. I'm waiting for the news of when the lake I'm going to be fishing is going to open. A bit light at the end of the tunnel anyway. That means I'm going to have to clean out that call box. Still got the remnants of my last meal in it from my last session, so I really ain't looking forward to that very much, to be honest. But anyway, got other stuff to do first. Just check my microphone's on. Yes. Raffle. The raffle's been incredible, the response to the raffle, but I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'm not sure. We're going to do the raffle today, and I'm doing this blog today. I'm not sure in what order they're going to go out, but the raffle is going to be on a Facebook Live, and it's going to be filmed for the YouTube channel as well, which will go out straight after the Facebook Live. So you might have already seen that. Not sure in which order that's going to hit the screen. So I won't say too much about that, apart from thanks for the response. It's been amazing. Amongst my various messages and emails and whatever, I received an amazing drawing from Teddy Walker. He's 5 years old, and he's drawn this. And you'll have noticed, hopefully, that is the thumbnail for today's blog, whatever you want to call it. And this is the actual picture that he drew, which is just great. I think he's captured my goatee perfectly, and Colin. Amazing. He just looked at everything, the details. Just fantastic. So that's going up on the wall. Yeah, that can go right here. There we go. Well done, Teddy. I absolutely love it. Perfect. So where were we? Excuse me. Bit of orange juice. It's that early. I'm on orange juice. End of the second year on Wraysbury. I didn't really fish it much that winter. I decided to shop car, go back to work. So I went back to work. Most of the weekends I spent in my local, which was the Maid of Sussex back then. We used to have a thing there around Christmas time. We had a little deal with George and Ita, the landlord and landlady. Me, my mates, Clive and Jim. We used to do the Christmas decorations. It's a great big pub. And we'd hang all of the Christmas decorations. And the upside of this was we used to get there about 9 o'clock in the morning, Ita would cook us big fried breakfast, massive, great big roadblock breakfast. And George would pull us a pint. And that's sort of how it went throughout the morning. We used to do it on a Sunday morning. So the pub opened at 12, we'd get in there about 9. So by 12, the pub was sort of 3/4 decorated, and so were we, to be honest. George would keep pulling pints, and we'd keep sticking up decorations all around the pub. And you could tell where we'd started, and you could tell where we'd finished by the state of the decorations. But yeah, so we used to spend the winter, I spent that winter just sort of socialising, catching up with mates, earning a little bit of money, which always comes in handy, and getting ready for the spring. Still getting my head around at this stage. This was only going to be the third spring that we'd fished. Second spring that we'd fished. It was a bit strange, really, to start with, because I used to do stuff in the spring. I used to. If I wanted to go travelling, I used to like sort of hitchhiking around Europe, bumming about, and this, that, and the other. And you do all that in the spring, and you do, lots of stuff really. With June the 16th as the cut-off point. That's when the fishing started. But all that sort of warm weather activity was now sort of put on the back burner, if you like, because fishing was obviously far more important than all of that. I mean, back in the day, Glastonbury used to quite often sort of clash with the beginning of the season. It's moved forward a little bit now, but back then it was sort of quite often between the 14th and the 17th of June, that sort of period. I'm saying Glastonbury because I found this amazing photo, which for me sums up me in my Glastonbury period, if you like, which which I'm going to ping up. The waistcoat is homemade. Just got a piece of old sort of sheepskin cloth and a needle and cotton, cut out a pattern, sewed a little bit of hippie braid round the corners of it, just like to trim it off a bit. Gallon of rough cider. Always used to have a gallon of rough cider off the back of a tractor that used to drive around the Glastonbury fields back in the day before it was as sort of commercial as it is now. And a kitten. I mean, who goes to Glastonbury without a kitten, eh? Just wouldn't be done, would it? Wouldn't be the same. So yeah, that was me back in them days. But like I say, this year it was spring, lake was open, and I obviously wanted to be the first back in Sunnymeads, but I knew that Tench bloke had a bit of a plan. He'd mentioned a few times that he was thinking of getting in Sunnymeads and sort of camping out and waiting for the fish to turn up. But we were fortunate, I was fortunate that year, that it got hot really early, and sort of took everyone by surprise a little bit. Apart from me, I was ready. That first day that it hit 20 degrees, I was there. I arrived on that day, pulled up in the NatWest Sailing Club, walked down the path, as always, really sort of nervous that someone might be there. I thought it would only be TV, but I'd seen nobody else's motors at all. There was just mine parked out there. So I shot down there, got around the corner, no one in there. I thought, absolutely perfect. And like I said before, you've got this little overhanging, spindly sort of tree thing. Gives you the perfect view of the shallow margins. Shot up the tree, looked straight down, nothing. Thought, they're going to be here. I'm in perfect time, just before they arrive. First hot day. And from there, you can see out along the right-hand margins, right where I just walked along, along the tree line, along the path, back from the off-licence. And that's always the route they took. They always come under these bushes and came down into the corner. And I could see 3 fish over there, like mooching their way along the branches. And I just thought, it couldn't be better, I'm there just, 10 minutes before they arrive. So I've got my rod up the tree like I did before, hanging out the tree. It wasn't quite as clean on the bottom because obviously nothing had been in. There hadn't been any pre-feeding in there. So it's a bit grubby on the bottom, but there was a couple of little clear spots. So I've lowered the rig down and swung it. Got one on a spot, thrown the rod down the tree, climbed down, set that one up, done the same with the other. So I've got 2 rigs here. One's right under the tree to the left and one's just out a little bit to the right. I can still see these 3 fish in the far margin. They've come along about 2 trees by now. So put them on the alarms, come back from the swim, pushed all my gear out the way so I'd be nice and concealed. And I've walked round the dog walker's path and climbed the tree that they're actually now coming under. And as they've come past, it's them. It's the 3 amigos. It's the short, fat linear. It's the pug. I've got a proper score to settle with that one. And it's the leather, the big leather, the uncaught leather. Just, an incredible beast. It didn't really like to be on show as much as the other 2. The other 2 were always there. The pug was pugging along, and the linear they were just there on show. Always a bit deeper down and a bit further back was this great big dark back lever. It was huge. And the 3 of them were coming down. I thought, this is my golden opportunity. I've caught the short fat linear, but the other 2, they are so high on the list. It's unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Like I say, me and the pug, we've got something going on. And the leather would just be the ultimate capture. So I shinned down the tree and I was just coming back out of the sort of bushes there, and I see someone walking down the path, and I was like, I don't want to have a conversation. I don't want to be like making any noise right by these fish. So I walked back towards the swim, and just on the bend, just, I don't know, 10 yards, just about from me rods, I stepped back in the bushes. I recognised who it was. It was Dave, a Tench angler, TB's mate. So I wanted him to come sort of away from the path so we could talk, without spooking the fish, which he did. He just came over to me and I was like, oh my God, they're here, the lever's here and I'm going to catch it. And I was all proper excited. So let's go and put the kettle on in my swim, let's go and make a cup of tea and sit back nice and quiet. So we've gone back, like I say, just round the corner, got the kettle out, just pumping up the cooker, I think, and I could hear this noise, this sort of noise. And I'm thinking, what the hell's that? And I've looked round and it's my left-hand rod. which confused me a bit because how they got from there to there so quickly. It had been about 5 minutes we've been chatting, but that's where they wanted to go. I forgot to turn the alarm on, hence the lack of beeping. So kettle and cooker went up in the air, went down, hit into this fish. It went ballistic. I mean, it's coming off a shallow water, probably a rod length out, and it's just gone and gone and gone. It's just left sunning me at a rate of knot, big bow wave going out there. And I sort of eventually managed to stop it and roll it, and I can tell straight away it's a proper big fish. I'm thinking it's not the short fat linear, because he's not a fighting machine. It could be the pug. I've hooked the pug. I know he can go, but it might be the leather. So I'm thinking it's going to be the pug or the leather. Anyway, I've stopped this fish, and it's surfaced way out, big boil on the top. You can tell it's a great big fish, big tail's gone over and what have you. So I've started battling it in, and it's been going about 5 minutes, and it's proper rowing. And then along the path, the same path, comes Phil Thompson. And I'm thinking, I've just timed this perfect. There's 2 anglers here. I was here half an hour before another 2 anglers. Phil's come wandering along. And he stopped just about where I'd climbed the tree, where these 3 fish were. And I can see him looking down in the water. And he's looked across at me and gone, "All right, Doug?" "Yeah, got one on, He said, "There's 3 more over here." He said, "One of them's massive." I'm thinking, they're still there, That's the 3 amigos. I haven't hooked the pug. I haven't hooked the leather. What have I hooked? There was no other fish there. I'd been up the tree. I could see the whole swim. There was nothing else in the swim. Anyway, I played this fish in. Dave shot up the tree so he can get a better look. Phil's come round, got the net, and it's come along the margins, and it started. It's in shallow water, so he can see it really clearly, and he's saying it's enormous. It's a massive, massive fish. And then you start thinking, is it olive? Is it what could it possibly be? And it's come up and hit the surface, and we've seen the scale, and we all know it's Mary. So I've got her in. She's gone in the net. I was obviously over the moon. I'd already caught Mary. I was, to be honest, a bit deflated that it wasn't the leather or the pug. I thought that was my chance. It was my chance, to be honest. That was my chance. So we got her in, got her on the bank, and she looked big. She did look big. Done all the do, scales in the tree and that. 50 pound 5 ounces. So my first 50 pounder, which is a major achievement, but I'd caught her at 49.15 in February before. So yeah, mixed emotions really, over the moon I've just caught a 50 pounder. I've never caught a 50 pounder before. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't ecstatic about it, but it was tinged with the fact that I just, the other 3 are gone by now after all of this. I've just ruined the chance, or it's been ruined, the chance of finally, settling my score with the pug or catching the leather. But I had Mary, so it's a fair consolation, isn't it? Bizarrely enough, that was that day, I say mid-April, whatever it was. That was the last time I ever saw the leather. I don't know of any, I can't remember if there were any other sightings of it after that day. It was such an elusive fish. It really was. Although the short fat and the pug got caught, the leather never got caught. As far as I know, it was never put on the bank. Which was, some fish are like that. You get that in lakes. I fished a lake quite recently that's got fish in that I see every year in the same spots, always in the spring, and then never see again for the rest of the year, and they just never ever hit the bank. It's just the nature of fishing, isn't it? But I remember after that session, the weather just turned to shit, to be honest. So we had that little 2 days of hot weather, I think it was, and then it just went back to the normal English springtime, wet, windy and what have you. And it was windy right through until May, beginning of May. I turned up for a session, for Phil's birthday session. The year before we'd all gone into Windsor, and this year I think we were planning barbecues and fires and just drinking on the bank, and maybe a trip up to Percy or Indian or whatever. So it would have been the 8th of May, the day before Phil's birthday. And I turned up bright and early. Tench bloke was already there. He was down in the same swim that he'd caught the pug from, down in the bottom of Bryant's Bay. Same date, same swim. That was him. He was settled in there. I thought about sitting down in the bay with him just for the social and that. And I thought, no, I'd like to be in with a shout for fish. 2 down in the bay is a little bit crowded, and there was only him there at this stage. So I thought, I'll go on Bryant's Point. I'll go in pole position. It's a couple of 100 yards past him on the end of the point. So I went up there for a look, and the weather was atrocious. It was similar to what it had been back when I had Mary's mate and Malins from there back in the sort of autumn before. The wind was a different direction, but equally as strong. I think it was a northeasterly, which is a cold wind in the spring, so it's coming across the other way. But it was howling. In the bottom of the bay where TV was, it was lovely. It was all serene. The wind sort of cut across the front of the bay. But out on the point, there was froth up the bank. I called it carp angler's ice cream. That big froth that blows up, and you're in the right spot. But there was also branches that had all been battered off in the winter, that had been bobbing about all in the margins, all hung with dead manky old weed and that. So I spent a bit of time dragging everything out. I was looking out there at these white caps going through, and I was thinking, it's going to be another one of those sessions, and it's going to be like, hideous to drop the rigs, and if I do hook anything, it's going to be hideous to land them. But in those sort of conditions, middle of the lake, got to be in with a shout. So pulled out all the stuff out of the margins, got cleared up the swim from all the debris of winter. Wandered back for another chat with TV, cup of tea, and then I just popped round the corner of the bay, unlocked the shooters gate, went in there and got the boat out. I thought, I'm going out there in the North Sea. I'm going out in a proper boat. I'm not going out in an inflatable. So paddled back across in the shooters boat and set about putting my rigs out there, which I knew was going to be a proper mission. I'd got a bit of a plan for dropping the rigs, and it's something I still do today when I'm boat fishing in bad weather. Whereas before, I'd gone out there and I'm sort of rowing with one hand, and I've got the rig. I'm finding the spot and I've got the rig, and you're looking down and the bomb's flying past you like mad, and you're trying to quickly donk it down on the spot. What I do now, what I'd started doing just then, was having what I call a drop marker. So it can be anything, it can be a water bottle, as in not as a great big gallon one, a little drinks bottle with some line tied around it and a great big heavy weight. It can be an H block, if you want to spend money on H blocks. It can be a homemade anything, a big lump of foam, but you want something basically with a big weight on so the weight's going to sink really quick, the marker's going to spin, and it's going to stay in position. It's not going to stay out there, but it's going to mark your spot for you. So the first thing I do is go out there, get the mask on, and I've got this drop marker sort of above my head ready, and I go past, and the second I see the spot flash past, because you are, when the wind hits you, you're moving quite fast, and you see the spot, you're sort of looking ahead, you see the spot coming, and as it goes past, you just throw the marker, bosh, in a rough approximation of whatever the feature is. And then you can paddle back up and look and think, right, the spot is a rod length shorter and half a rod length to the left of the marker, or the rod, you know what I mean? It's like it's a marker. It's not marking on the spot, but it's giving you a point of reference, if you like, for where the spot is. So when you go out with a rig, you can see your great big drop marker, and you're heading left, heading a bit short, heading right, heading a bit further. So that's exactly what I do. Gone out there, seen my drop marker, bosh the lead down there, the rig down there, handful of bait, and then retrieve the big marker. I might replace it, like nowadays I'd replace it with a cane or back then maybe a Kinder Egg or whatever, but get the big hideous marker out of the way and repeat this 3 times. Now, so you've done at least 6 trips out there. If nothing goes wrong, it's 6 trips. Quite often, you nearly get to your drop marker, you're just about to throw your rig and the wind spins the back of the boat and the line goes round the oar or go round your head or round your foot or whatever. Or you just blow off a course, and by the time you get back, you've got a big bow in the line. A lot can go wrong. So I don't know. I probably had a dozen trips out there to get these 3 rigs all sorted. But once they were sorted, It was all done. The boats are full of freezing cold, horrible, manky water. I'm soaked, obviously. Every time I go anywhere near a lake, I end up soaked, drenched, cold. But I'm fishing. So I come back to the bank, moored up the boat, and done what you can only do at Wraysbury when you're cold and wet. I built a fire. I was well aware, being in Bryant's Point, that the party would probably be in my swim, because it's the roomiest swim. You know, you've got the actual bivvy and rods down the front, and then there was a nice big clearing behind that could fit a few people around. And we've got a ring of stones for the fire, and there was always plenty of like dead wood there from whatever Dutch bloke had cut down over the years. So I built myself a fire, bit of jollop over it, chucked a match on it, and soon it was roaring. I was sat next to it warming out, sort of mid-afternoon by now, I suppose, waiting for Phil to turn up. I don't think his birthday was the next day. I think it was the day after, actually. So we got there in plenty of time. And eventually Phil did turn up, clanking along with a little carrier bag full of cans. Tench bloke came round, and we had a bit of a sort of a pre-celebration, if you like. Sat out there, had a few beers, nothing major, because we knew, you know, we had plenty of time for that coming up. And eventually turned into bed, you know, at whatever sensible time. First thing in the morning, first light, I'm woken up by a screamer, absolute belter, and I'm like, happy days. Because it was a blind guess, really, wet fish. I got one absolutely roaring off. So jumped out of bed, hit into this fish. The waves are still charging, it's still absolutely hideous. You know, you're holding up the rod and the wind's actually moving the rod, and you're trying to get control of this fish, and it's out there. I'm fishing it. I think I was on the far bars at 120 yards. And I played this fish, and he's chugging about. No major dramas, no weed or anything like that. There's weed out there, but I'm not getting in it. Played this fish. And it takes quite a while in big, hefty seas, I'll call them. In big, hefty seas to get, you know, a fish in 120 yards when it don't want to come in, and they never want to come in, do they? Anyway, played this fish in. I've seen it roll in the waves a couple of times, and I'm like proper excited, because it's not massive. It's a mirror. It's deep, but it's not, you know, huge, which meant there's a possibility it's going to be one of the odd ones. Anyway, it's coming a couple of times more, rolled a couple of times more, and the more I've seen him, the more I thought, yeah, this is a proper one. Slid him into the net, pulled him up on the bank, and I recognised him straight away. It's a fish that it's called measles. If anyone knows the history of Wraysbury one back in the day, you'll know of a fish called measles, but we never used to call it measles. We didn't even know it was called measles. We used to call it the Finger Bay Mirror. It goes right down in the bottom of the Finger Bays, right in the bottom where there's sort of a dead end bit. There's a tree we called the tench tree, and you could always climb up it and see lots of tench just laid underneath, and one mirror. And it was always this one mirror, measles, stroke, Finger Bay Mirror. So we always used to call him the Finger Bay Mirror. And he's a beautiful fish. He's proper round, lovely old mirror with little dots all over him, which is where obviously the measles came from. It wasn't until a year or so later we found out that the Finger Bay and measles were one and the same fish. So I've bagged an odd one, you know. I've bagged myself a proper Wraysbury mid-20, 26 pounds I think he was, something 26 and a half pounds. So I've sacked him up, tied him up in a sack, and just on the side of my swim is a very small, it's not really a swim, it's just a slot. It's where I fished when I caught Mary, when the swim was flooded and I had to chuck a couple out in the bay. It's just a little gap we've cleared there. So I've sacked the fish down in there. And if I leant right out, I could see Tench bloke's bivvy down the bottom of the bay. So it's still fairly early in the morning. So I've leant out and I'm shouting, Tench bloke, Tench bloke. Nothing's going on at all. Tench bloke, nothing. I could see into the bivvy door, but there's no rousing him at all. Probably roused half of the Douglas Lane. And then I see Phil and Dave, the Tench Dave, they were walking along the bank on the other side. So I screamed at them, I've had one! So get TB, come around here. So they trotted off round the Tench blokes. I've gone back in, I'll put the kettle on so when they turn up I can do tea and whatever. So stuck the kettle on, pumping the kettle up, bang, the next rod's away. Rod number 2, roaring. So hooked into that, got this fish on, and then Tench bloke, Dave and Phil have all turned up behind me, bent into this carp. Phil said, I thought you said you got one. I said, I have got one, mate. I've got a proper one there. I've got an Odden in the sack. I said, it's the finger bay mirror. And I've got another one on. This one weren't coming in as easy as the other. Not the other was easy, but this one weren't coming in at all. It kept getting its head in something. Probably weed or behind a bar or something. It's hard to tell when you've got 120 yards of stretchy old mono, you know, and the waves and everything else. And it got to a stage where I thought, I'm not going to land this from the bank. And Dave said, I'll come out with you in the boat, because, you know, it's a nightmare on your own. So me and Dave got in there, set off. You know, as soon as we cleared the point, we're off in the wind sideways, but his paddles was out there, And we've gone out to the old big pink buoy, the one that me and Jacko had to utilise to land the other fish, Mary's mate. So we've gone out. I said, just make for the buoy. We'll tie off to the buoy and we'll do it from there. We'll probably only be 20 or 30 yards away from the fish. So we've made straight for the buoy. He's chucked the rope around the buoy, and it was so much easier, you know, with less stretch, and that I could actually feel what was going on. And I pulled and the fish has pulled and I pulled, and I've started to get it donking through the weed, which is the best way. Just hold it, let it have a little bit, you know. And it's donk. Quite often they fight their way out. Sure enough, he's come out of the weed and he's circling round in front, and we can see him like down below the swell, probably 10 foot down. I can see him twisting and turning, and I'm thinking, my God, it's another one, you know. It's not a 30 pounder, it's another Odden. See, it's a mirror, lighter in colour, flashing about down there, and the circles are getting smaller, and he's coming up tail first, because he's proper trying to get back down there, but I've got him under control, and he's come up, and Dave slipped the net under him, pulled him in, and had a look, and sure enough, it's a fish that used to be called 3 scale. Oh, it's a proper classic carp. It is a beautiful fish, similar size to the other one. So we booked him in the boat on the mat, rowed back, and I'm just like, it's another Odden, you know. Everyone's proper chuffed, because that's, like I say, that's what we're always after on there. Sure enough, on the bank, it's 3 scale. Weighed him up. He was exactly the same as the other. I think they were both 26 and a half. And I managed to get like the rarest of rare, a brace photo of 2 Wraysbury Oddens on the bank. It was unbelievable, you know. Brace of 20. I know it sounds mad. There's a 50 pounder in there. You know, there's 3, 4 40 pounders known, or they're not 40 pounders when I catch them. They're 39, 15. And then you've got your things like the leather and olive and what have you. And I'm so excited that I've caught 2 mid-20s, because it's just different. You know, these are the elusive ones. And there they are on the bank, measles and 3 scale, and Fat Sam, all in a photo. It's just the best moment of the lot. I have, obviously, photos probably coming up. There was a bit of a disaster involved in this whole thing with my camera. I just invested in, someone had recommended to me to buy we used to take slides back then, prepaid slide films. So when you buy it, the development is already paid, and then at the end you take it out, but you have to post it off to Kodak. That would turn out to be the worst mistake I'd ever made, but luckily there were other cameras there. Long story short, those films never made it to Kodak. An empty envelope, I think, made it to Kodak. They were lost in the post. So I probably would have had reels of beautiful pictures, but all I had to rely on was other people's cameras. Phil had a new camera, and he weren't 100% with it, but we did get some good photos. But it doesn't matter, because I've got memories, you know, and they're worth more than a photo all day long. So, although it was only early, by the time we'd done the photos and everything, what have you, mid-morning or whatever, we were all up and about and up for it. It was Phil. I do remember it was Phil's birthday the following morning. He set up in the base of the point. There was a little swim down the base of the point, photographers we used to call it. We all set up in proximity anyway, and I remember Phil getting the fire going while I was sorting out the rods, which again was a mission, and again meant I was going to get absolutely soaked. So I did that. It took me some hours to get everything exactly how I wanted it. So I was fishing again. You know, got all 3 rods out there. By this time the fire's roaring. I've got my clothes horse thing back up. I've got my clothes hanging around the fire. Fat Sam's got her nose right in it. She's absolutely steaming. And then you hear that first and you think, oh, Phil started. It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This could get messy, especially as it's not his birthday till the next day. And that's what we done. We sat around the fire, opened a couple of cans. I hadn't even finished the first tin. Bang, I'm away again on one of these freshly done rods. I'm like, I can't believe it. 3 bites in a morning in Wraysbury. It's just unheard of. Hooked into this third fish. It's hooked straight over like that, and the rod's just sprung back and the hook's out. I was gutted, but at the same time I'm thinking this just can't, you know, it shouldn't be happening. You can't get 3 bites in a day. It's unheard of. There was no way I was going back out again. You know, I'm now in dry clothes, probably final lot of clothes anyway. I thought I'm not going back out. I've got 2 rods still out there, still howling, still big waves. I thought that'll do. You know, I've caught 2 fish, I've lost 1, still fishing with 2 rods. Everybody's here, party's started, fire's roaring, cans are out. Sod it. So I leant that one up against the tree, and we just got on it basically. Just sat there chatting and, you know, retelling the story of the 2 Wraysbury odds that will be told forever and evermore. Still telling it today. And just had a proper old party around the fire. It was great. About, I don't know, sometime in the evening, the shootist came round. Now he knew it was Phil's birthday the next day, but he had some other arrangement with a gun and lots of things soon to be dead. So he came round in the evening with a couple of carrier bags full of beer, apologising that he couldn't make the actual birthday bash. Well, I don't think we still hadn't decided exactly what we were going to do. And he's parked himself by the fire, so more beers come out and it's gone on and on. I'm knackered, you know, I've been up since first light. I've been soaked twice, I've been out in the boat, I've caught a couple of fish. I've had it. By 11 o'clock at night, bear in mind this bonfire's just behind my bivvy, but by 11 o'clock at night they were all still at it, and I could feel myself flagging, you know. I thought, I'm done. We've got tomorrow to go yet. We've got the main event tomorrow. So 11 o'clock I'd done a very rare thing, because I always like to be last man standing if ever possible, but I was all in. So I said, I'm done. You lot carry on. I'm going to bed. Of course, you get all the jeers and the boos and the boy lost in a man's world comment and all of that, but I thought, I don't care. I'm done. Left Fat Sam by the fire with the rest of the Herberts. There was just the 3 of them there now. I've gone off, just got in my bivvy, just like I say, just in front of the fire. Got into bed, pulled the old sleeping bag over, zipped him up, thought, that's it, I'm done. If I can sleep through their row, then I'm going to get a good night's kip. Start again in the morning. I was expecting a bite at first light the next morning as well, you know, same as the first one. So I can't be up all night and that. Then I got into bed, gone straight to sleep, passed out, whatever you want to call it. 11 o'clock. I think it was 11:45. Woken up by an absolute screamer. Well, 4 screamers, to be honest. There's a screamer on the bite alarm, and there's 3 screaming lunatics behind me. Way, Doug's in, it's it. I'm like, oh, you get up, you don't know what's going on, do you? It's the worst, isn't it? If you've been asleep for 4 or 5 hours, you feel all right. If you've been asleep for 45 minutes, you get up and you're just like, what? Totally confused. There's this red light glowing, there's a spool spinning. I obviously struck into this fish, same, you know, it's out there, it's proper rowing. I thought, there is no way I'm going out in a boat. There's no way I'm letting any of them in a boat. You know, we may have been irresponsible in our younger days, but we weren't bloody stupid. We'd been on it all day. There was no way the boat was leaving that shore. So I've just give it as much as I can, heaving on this fish, and he's heaving back. And it went on, and it went on, and it went on. You know, I've gained 20, 30 yards, he'd take 10 yards. It was a hell of a battle. I mean, I read in my book that I said it took an hour. I mean, an hour is a long time to play a fish, so maybe it was an exaggeration and it was half an hour. But I do remember being out there, being badgered to death by these three, and being there for long enough to be freezing cold in the wind, because obviously I'd stripped off to get into bed to whatever, I'd taken the jacket and everything off. And eventually, black out there with the big waves, and you start seeing them big flat spots coming up, them inky black flat spots. So he's right here, right chugging about in the edge. You've got the big overhanging bushes I'm keeping him away from, and he's come up and then he started rolling, and one of them's got the net. I don't know, I probably didn't trust any of them with it, but one of them's grabbed the net and sort of gone in the front. And he's gone over and he's gone in the net, and a big roar's gone up, and I pulled him in, no idea what's in there. Got the mat, got the torch, pulled him out, laid him on the mat, and as soon as he sort of went flat on his side, and we've seen the markings, we've seen the coloration, and we've seen the scaling, we just went mad. I went mad. It's the pug, yeah? It's my old adversary, the pug. In front there with all your mates, at a celebration, it's the pug. I just can't believe it. I've nearly caught him. I've hooked and lost him. I've seen him. He's won every time, and it's my moment. My 5 minutes of glory, and he's there. And I always said if I ever caught the pug, I'd lay him on the mat and laugh at him, and that's exactly what I did. It was like, not so bloody clever now, are you, mate? And he was there. 36.5 pounds of absolutely glorious Wraysbury mirror carp. But so much more than that, It was just, I triumphed, for once. He hadn't beaten me, I'd beaten him. And then you play back the fight in your head, don't you? And you just think, oh God, the amount of stick I gave him in those conditions on that poxy little bit of nylon line with that I was probably using a size 6 super specialist or something back in those days. Anything could have gone wrong, but it hadn't gone wrong. And the pug was finally pugging about in my swim. Oh, what a moment. As I've said, it became even more unfortunate with the lost films, because on those 2 films, I think it was, that got lost in the post, I'd got a brace of Wraysbury odd-uns and I'd got the pug. I am so thankful that there were other people about, and I have got some photos of them. Because if it had been just, say, me and Tenchblade, for example, would have only used my camera and I'd have had no photos whatsoever. But I have got photos, so, and like I say, I've got memories, so happy boy. So anyway, with this blogging and the fishing, I'm not just going to stop, I'm not just going to disappear. We haven't got far in the book left, to be honest. I've had a look through and I reckon we've only got another couple, maybe 2, 3 at the most. But you're going to get them. I'm going to do them. I want to find out what happens in the end. So we're going to carry on, but not right now, because I've got a raffle to do. I'm going to get the missus up here in a minute, and we're going to do the raffle, and then I'm going to edit all of this, and everything is going to go out there today. So we're going to leave it there. We're going to leave it with the obligatory book ad, which will come up. The obviously live link to the website is below. I think that's really probably all you need to know for now. And I'll be back up here in about 10 minutes doing the raffle. So until the next blog or until the raffle, like I say, I don't know which order they're going to come out in. I haven't got to stay in, stay safe anymore. There's some other new message, isn't there? Stay alert. I know plenty of alerts, I can assure you of that. So stay alert and dust off them fishing rods, because we're going fishing.